Annie is with us, and Annie is in Albuquerque. Hi, Annie. How are you?
Hi, Dave. Hi, John. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure. How can we help?
Okay, so I have a sister who's in her 30s, and she had a kid when she was 21 years old. And she's been a bartender for about the last 7 years before COVID. And for the last several years, my sister has been taking money from our father and grandmother, and they fund several parts of her life. For example, she's never had a car payment. Both my dad and my grandmother have both purchased cars for her. And so she's never really had to make any effort to improve her lifestyle. And like she'll say that she's going to do things and then she doesn't follow through. And so my question is more about, I'm starting to feel resentment toward my sister because I feel like she's taking advantage of our family. They don't really have the financial means to be helping with these situations. And they've been bailing her out of her situation financially for years. And I just want to know how I should proceed with a relationship with her.
Have you ever talked to her about it?
I feel this way.
Have you ever talked to her?
No. I have talked to my dad about it. My grandma is way old, so it's hard to talk to her.
Hold on a second. How come you never talked to your sister about it?
Well, we had a falling out. We're just now starting to talk again. We had a falling out because she had made some pretty bad relationship decisions with a significant other, and I didn't support it. It was a very abusive situation, and I didn't know what to do. So I just said, I don't know what to do here.
Yeah, so this is one of those family conversations that sounds a lot more complex in reality than it really is. The reality is you don't have a lot of power in this situation. And so what you can control is the boundaries you want to set up and the conversations that you want to have. Other than that, your mom and dad, your dad and grandma get to decide how they spend their grown-up money, and your grown-up sister gets to decide if she wants to continue to leech off other people or if she wants to get her life together. The choices you have are to have a hard conversation with your dad and your grandma and say, I think you're being taken advantage of by our sister, and that's about as far as that conversation can go. And then you can have a hard conversation with your sister and say, I don't like how you're treating grandma and dad. Other than that, you get to choose where you want to carry around a bunch of resentment and frustration, and because that pain is in your heart. That's not on anybody else that you're choosing. It's almost willfully choosing to wake up every day frustrated, right? What do you think, Dave?
Yeah. Well, you're exactly right. One of the hardest things in our lives is when there are adults that we love that are being stupid, and you can't keep them from being stupid.
There's no law against stupid, right?
Stupid is not illegal, and it's in almost every family, by the way. Like every family. And so some put the fun in dysfunction, but I mean, it's, it's hard. It's hard to watch people you love. So the only way you possibly can do any good with your sister is just say, I think you could have a better life than you have. And it breaks my heart that your life is not good. And it's not good because of some of the choices you're making. And man, I would love to walk with you and spiritually disciple you, whatever, on making some different choices and cutting the ties where you're being supported as a grown woman by dad and grandma. And if I can help you with that, I love you, and I think you can do better, and I think you're going to have a better life. And make it about her doing better rather than how bad she is. And go ahead.
I was going to say, Ann, do you want to have a relationship with your sister? Or do you want her to stop?
Yes, sir, so badly.
So you don't have one now, or you have a broken one now, right?
Yes, sir. We're reconnecting now.
So
slowly.
What I'm going to recommend, a great way to heal a relationship is not to come at with somebody, letting them know they need to make a bunch of life changes and they need to fix some stuff that you don't like. Sometimes the best way to start and repatch and reheal a relationship is to say, I love you, how are you? How you been?
How can I help you?
I've missed you.
How can I help you?
And to start there. And true life change comes through relationship. It comes through connection, not through somebody barking orders at you. And so I'm going to recommend, if you want to, and the reason I ask you that question is some people just want their sister to quit taking their future inheritance. They just want their dad to start getting taken advantage of. That's different than, man, I miss my sister and I love her and I want to reconnect with her. Those are two different processes and two different approaches. But man, I say call her direct and say, I love you, let's get together, and we're going to start from there.
Yeah. As far as your dad goes, if you do want to have another conversation, it could sound like this. Dad, you're an enabler. You're bringing harm to so-and-so by helping them. Because all of her character muscles have atrophied. And so, because here's the thing, your dad and your grandma, I know about enablers. One thing I know about all of them is they're the nicest people.
And they love deeply.
They just love. They just want to be helpful. And if he can become convinced that he's actually doing harm, which he is, rather than helping, then he will suddenly grow a backbone and introduce a new word, no.
Right.
Because he is doing harm to your sister. And as a dad, if he ever gets that, he'll stop it. But as enablers all feel like they're helping. Oh, I could never. Oh, my child, I could never. They could never. And they say things like that with always a wisp in their voice.
That's right.
You know what I'm don't they?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
The breathier it is, the more dramatic it is, yeah.
It has to be. Oh, they would be homeless. The grandchild would be. I can't turn my grandchild out on the street.
Right.
And it's like as if she wouldn't get her butt in gear and get a job and probably figure this out.
You will figure it out. That's right.
You know, so as if you are the sole barrier between your grandchild and homelessness.
Right.
Homelessness.
Well, and I also know enablers who they love to be needed. And they love to play that role of support and care.
Ooh.
And sometimes that's they need to look in the mirror on their own selves, right? Because if my daughter does go get a job, she does start supporting her kid on her own, then who am I? I'm not necessary anymore. I'm not as valuable as I once was. And that's a lie too.
But when you're participating in funding someone's insanity, you are bringing them harm.
That's right.
It's the equivalent of giving a drunk a drink.
That's exactly right.
Well, that's tough love. No, darling, that's just love.
Right.
Love is making grown-ups grow up.
So I've got two young kids, and I know about this intellectually. What do you've got grown-ups, grown kids.
Mm-hmm.
What do you tell yourself if they were to come back and say, hey, I need some support?
Well, if they have an emergency situation, we would help them.
Right.
But it's not a pattern.
Love it.
The pattern is the problem. It's not a one-off. Kid needs to move back home. That's fine. You know, a safety net is okay. A hammock is not okay.
Look at that.
This is the Dave Ramsey Show.